Shut up. Let's get to reality, okay? So your last two guests, while pretending to be conciliatory, one of them started talking about me and started talking about blood on their hands. And then this idiot brings out a clip from 10 years ago that's about words and is pretending it has to do with violence.
Well, Cenk, it looks like your former employee tried to play a little trick on you during your appearance on Piers Morgan.
He did, but there's another person on that panel that I want to tell you about too after Anna gives you the receipts on Dave Rubin.
So I was curious about what Dave Rubin was accusing Cenk of, and it was something I wanted to look into because, if we've done anything wrong in the past, if we've said anything that can be interpreted as inciting violence, well, we should apologize for it, denounce what we've said in the past, but that's not what happened here. So, Dave Rubin played this nasty trick on Cenk during this scuffle on Piers Morgan last week, and it is worth getting into just how shady and how dishonest the attack was, and how his false allegations could even inspire violence against Cenk. Now, first, he blasted off a bunch of relatively innocuous video titles referencing things that Charlie Kirk actually said. These are stories that we covered. Now, understand that Cenk Uygur is not sitting in front of a computer and literally like publishing our videos. We have a company, we have a team. But even so, there's nothing wrong with these titles. They're descriptive of what the content included. So with that in mind, take a look.
Well, Piers, it's not even that it's about his actual opinions. It's about the opinions that many thought leaders on the left purport that he has, which are complete lies. So look, I am in somewhat of a reconciliatory mode here. So I'd like to ask Cenk, I have 10 headlines here he has put up about Charlie Kirk. They are on his channel right now, and let's see if Cenk believes that these are true. Charlie Kirk says prominent black women took white people's spots. Charlie Kirk boasts about his all-white basketball team. Charlie Kirk gives piggish advice to high school girls. Ex-employee exposes Charlie Kirk's grift. Charlie Kirk embarrasses himself. Charlie Kirk's brain melts explaining anti-vax conspiracy. Charlie Kirk rants about women in their 30s. Charlie Kirk has literally no clue how the real world works. Charlie Kirk gets triggered, declines appearance over pronouns. Charlie Kirk doubles down on women-hating backlash. I am telling you, Piers, Charlie Kirk was one of the best human beings I ever met. He did not have a bone of racism, misogyny, or anything else in his body. But liars lie.
Liars do lie, and what he's doing there is essentially lying to make it seem like the very same type of content that you would see all across YouTube is somehow inciting violence and inspiring people to carry out murder, including the murder of Charlie Kirk. Like those titles weren't even violent, and it had to do with what Charlie Kirk said on the record. So we need to be able to be engaged in political debate. And if we disagree with what someone is saying in the context of a political discussion or a speech, we're gonna do it. What happened to Charlie Kirk was wrong. Okay, the individual who carried out Tyler Robinson, the alleged murderer, should be brought to justice. There's no question about it. But to exploit that murder, to try to silence criticism of any political ideology or any political figure is ridiculous. And Dave Rubin, even with the plotting of this attack on Cenk, couldn't get it right. It's amazing how stupid he is. Anyway, I also noticed that he notably left out the video and title here. This is another video that we did of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, this is the gayest generation in American history. Dave Rubin, notably gay. I don't have a problem with it, but a lot of people on the right have. Not necessarily Charlie Kirk. I haven't seen Charlie Kirk attack Dave Rubin, but I remember when Dave Rubin was bringing children into this world through surrogacy. Oh, the right didn't like that, did they? But let me continue.
The extreme right.
The extreme right, not everyone on the right. There are definitely moderates who don't have a problem with it. Now, after that, Rubin plays an out of context audio clip featuring Cenk. Let's take a look at that.
Well, you know what, Cenk, I'll ask you a question directly, actually. Do you think Charlie wanted to be martyred? Do you think Charlie wanted to be martyred? Do you think Charlie wanted to be killed? Yes or no?
Of course not. What kind of asinine question is that?
You don't? You don't? Because that's pretty interesting. Because here's a video of you, Cenk, talking when Charlie was at a breakfast.
For these guys, and they don't deserve it.
But I do also want to point out, as they're in the middle of crying now, although Charlie was smiling ear to ear throughout the entire video, thinking, yes, I'm now the victim, and I'll get to claim that my rights have been abridged.
Did you catch the beginning of that, Cenk?
Okay, so random audio clip from one of the videos where Cenk is covering a story involving Charlie Kirk. But then he gives a little more context, which gave me the opportunity and ability to look up the actual video and see what the context was. We're gonna get to that in just a minute, but here's what else Dave had to say.
Did you catch the beginning of that, Cenk? Listen, we'll do it again.
No, I didn't, and that's totally out of. No, we're not going to do it again. Totally out of context. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
No. Listen, brother.
Are you trying to get harm on me? Is that what you're trying to do, you loser? Jesus Christ!
No. I'm trying
to
do
conciliation.
Exactly what
this
people
guy,
like you
look at the
have
last
done.
two things that your last two guests said.
Piers.
Jesus,
no,
man.
what they
You
said
guys are
was, yes,
unbearable.
we should have reconciliation, but it is not without any contrition, right? It's not without a mea culpa. Charlie was accosted by Antifa at a breakfast in Philadelphia, and the video that I just played is you with a cartoon of him as Charlie Brown saying that he would love to be martyred so he could be the victim. Well, I guarantee you, his wife, who now doesn't have a husband, and his kids who don't have fathers, did not want him to be martyred.
What you just played isn't what I.
It's exactly what you said, brother.
It's exactly what it was.
Let's do it again.
No, it isn't.
Let's
we
do
just
it again.
heard it. We just heard it.
It's not.
All right, so
it's not.
No,
let's do it again.
Cut this crap out.
Okay, so he mentioned something about Charlie Brown. Again, enough context clues for me to find the video in question. It actually dates back to August 6th, 2018. So let's take a look at what Cenk actually said in the video.
This weekend, there were some actions taken against them that I do not agree with. I wanted to show that for you guys. As always, we believe in being principled here and being for freedom of speech no matter what. Yeah, I don't agree with that. They poured water over his head. It's not the right thing to do. One, because anything physical is not the morally right thing to do and not the progressive thing to do. Number two, it allows them to play the victim card, which they can't wait to play. So why would you help them like that?
I hate scams, especially the ones that target seniors, and Medicare's chock full of them. Between commission-hungry brokers and thousands of confusing plan options, most seniors aren't on the best plan for them. That's why I partner with Chapter. They're fully independent and they work for you, not the insurance companies. That's really important. They can review all your options in under 20 minutes, and the average senior they help saves over $1,100 a year. And the best part of it is, it doesn't cost you a thing. Call 301-969-2545 to connect with a Chapter advisor today.
What was wrong with his commentary there? And why was Dave Rubin making it appear as though Cenk was inciting violence against Charlie Kirk? That has never happened. We have always been against violence because we find it immoral and undemocratic, by the way. We like dialogue, we like debate. And we have on multiple occasions condemned individuals who identify as left-wing activists for trying to ban speakers on college campuses, for trying to carry out acts of violence to intimidate their political opponents. So Dave Rubin should eat a peen. Go ahead, Cenk.
Okay, so I'll get back to the other person in that panel in a second. But first, we had the titles, right? And he's like, look at these anti-Charlie Kirk titles that you guys have had over a decade or so that we've known and battled Charlie, right? Are we not supposed to do videos about anyone on the other side in case they might get killed at a later date? What an absurd standard. But wait a minute, if that's the standard, then Dave Rubin shouldn't do any videos about us or anyone else. Because if something happens later, you did an anti-Cenk video. That is unacceptable.
It's a ridiculous standard.
No,
and he knows it, and he knows it.
But that's the thing, guys. So the thing with Dave Rubin and why no one likes him on the left or the right is because he's kind of an obvious liar. And so I'm gonna get back to that in a second, because there's something here that Anna just showed you that really proves it without a shadow of a doubt, right? So he reads a bunch of innocuous titles about things Charlie actually said, right? So, and again, let's think that through that standard. So if I say something outrageous about the right, no one's allowed to make a video about it and quote me accurately or object at all in case something happens to me later, because then you drove hatred towards me. No, that can't be the standard. Otherwise, no one's allowed to say anything, right? So obviously the correct standard is, did you encourage violence or did you discourage violence? Did you fight in the battlefield of ideas or one that is physical and violent, right? So if you say, no, there shouldn't even be a battlefield of ideas, no one should ever say anything, well, that's absurd. Everybody knows that's absurd. So none of those titles were, or the content of that was in any way misleading, and it was us disagreeing with Charlie. And what's interesting is that we disagree with Charlie a lot, but nevertheless, we invited him on the show. And we got a lot of heat from the left for inviting him on the show, right? And then when we had a conversation with him, we still disagreed on a lot of things about what the government should do in terms of encouraging families, et cetera, a million disagreements, right? But we found out, oh my God, we actually agree on a couple of things, and I was really surprised by it. You should watch that video from the Republican National Convention in 24, right?
In fact, Charlie felt so threatened by you inciting violence against him, Cenk, that he invited you to speak with him in person at a Turning Point event.
Yeah, and so look, so that's a great point too, and let me get to that real quick. So we talk at the RNC and then later at the DNC as well. And what we found out is, oh my God, it turns out we agree. Private equity should be banned from buying residential real estate because it's driving up housing prices. And that's a real big issue for folks on the right and the left, right? I was surprised at how much he agreed that the problem was corporate rule. I did not expect him to say that at all, okay? So it turns out when you talk to each other and when you listen to one another, you might actually find points of agreement. And then afterwards, he invited me to America Fest, what you're referring to there, Anna. And so I took a tremendous amount of criticism from the left for being the only one on the left who would go speak to Charlie Kirk at America Fest.
That's right.
So now Dave wants you to believe that I'm the worst in attacking Charlie Kirk, when Charlie Kirk, when he was here, was the one that invited me to this other, and I'm the only one who was willing to go, knowing that I was going to get tremendous backlash from folks on the left, our base, and which, by the way, also, I know these guys are obsessed with money and business and how you're gonna make money. And for Dave, it's a little bit easier because he has the Russians and others, okay? But we knew that would hurt our business because you're losing your own base of subscribers.
Yeah, you're losing
when
a portion of your audience, yes.
Yeah, when you have principles, right? And so to say that we were particularly inflammatory against Charlie Kirk is the opposite of the truth, right? And see, and that gets to the second point, which is, in my mind, devastating. So Dave knows, he looked at those titles, he looked at those videos, he did a lot of homework here, and he knows they're not inflammatory.
Yeah.
So he knew, well, let me just read a bunch of titles real quick and get people to be angry at Cenk. Maybe they'll take it out on Cenk, right? But then he goes to the second video, and that's where the giant mistake is. Because when you watch the video, you see me saying, and I hadn't watched it, Anna watched it and did the research on it.
Right.
I hadn't watched that ever since we did the video, right? It turns out I said the same thing in that video that I said today on the show, earlier today on the show. Right, left doesn't matter, 2018, 2025 doesn't matter, because we believe in principles. And I said I don't like that they did that to Charlie. It was pouring water over his head, and I said that's the wrong thing to do. What's interesting, guys, is Dave also watched that video.
He did.
And he saw me say, do not do anything physical, do not do anything violent. But he chose to mislead all of you and make it seem like I was encouraging violence rather than what I actually did, which was discourage violence. That's because Dave Rubin is a unique liar. He has no moral core at all, okay? And that's why I remember when he first went on Joe Rogan, and he made up half a dozen things that weren't even based in anything, any reality.
He claimed that we edit interviews, even though all interviews are streamed live and we don't edit interviews. The one time that anything was edited was when Dave Rubin begged TYT to edit out a portion of his debate in favor of Israel, in which he just said flat out that he's okay with Israel bombing a school, knowing that it's full of children, but there might be one Hamas militant there. Which, by the way, I mean, he has now proven over and over again that he's supportive of that, but he wanted that edited out. He went on Joe Rogan's show and claimed we edit interviews all the time and take people out of context. No, we don't. But we did edit a debate once for you to do you a solid because you said something pretty scummy and you knew it.
Yeah, I mean, no good deed goes unpunished. That goes for the entirety of Dave Rubin's career here at TYT. We picked him out of absolute obscurity. I'm so sorry, world, for doing that. And the only reason he got famous, he didn't get famous here. He got famous for attacking us and for making up all those lies. There's another half a dozen lies, but at this point you get it. So, one last lie from that appearance on Piers Morgan. If you notice in the clip, I say, don't make him a victim because then he'll love that. And it's just harmless in that case, it's water. So he'll get to say, I'm the victim. And what did you do? You wound up helping his cause by attacking him.
And by the way,
don't attack him.
And what has happened now that he's been murdered? Right? He is seen as a martyr. And it's just true.
So we were right back then in telling you not to attack Charlie Kirk, but instead Dave didn't say any of that. He did a quote that he claimed that I said Charlie would love to be martyred, but I never said that in the video. In fact, I said don't turn him into a victim by doing this, right? So you get the point, guys. You should never trust anything that Dave Rubin says. He has this again, he's just not a good person. And two, he has this grudge against us that apparently is going to last forever and ever. So he's going to try to smear us from here to the end of time, right? And by the way, nobody's upset enough about Dave Rubin to do anything, right? Because he's such an irrelevant loser, to be honest. But if you are upset at him for this, don't do anything to Dave either. Okay, you don't need to ever do anything physical or violent. That is defeat, that is intellectual surrender.
Definitely.
Okay, and who would want to surrender to Dave Rubin? That would be totally pathetic. So last thing is, Konstantin Kisin was also on that panel, and he's the one I referred to with saying, that some on the left have blood on their hands, right? But Konstantin wrote to me afterwards and said, listen, I didn't mean it that way. I don't want to get into exactly what he said because it's private, right? But I appreciated it. He had a nice note saying, hey, you know what, I wasn't trying to do anything like Dave, right? Or again, not mentioning specifically what he said, but it was a nice note, right? And so that's what a person does, even when Konstantin and I totally disagree on many things, and we've also battled, right?
Yeah.
But a good person says, hey, you know what? If I was misunderstood, I want you to know that I didn't mean it or whatever's cool and not cool, right? So I appreciated that note from him. And these days, by the way, guys, there is now a cadre of us on the left and the right that are having these conversations. And oftentimes these conversations are difficult, but we're getting to some agreement, which we've never gotten to before. All we've ever done is debate and fight and never get to agreement. But now we're beginning to get there, despite people like Dave Rubin who try to antagonize each other so that we hate each other forever. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.